What's up everybody, my name is Lee and we have hit our 50th video. And just because we did that, we're gonna rock out something super special today. I've got myself some American Wagyu beef, or also the Kobe beef of America. Let's get right to it. So the first thing we need to start is our mashed potatoes. I used some Yukon Gold mashed potatoes, peeled them, diced them, added them to cold water, and brought them to a rolling boil. We're going to let them go until they are soft. Next up, let's roast some Brussels sprouts. Cut them into quarters, oil them, salt and pepper, toss them into a 400-degree oven for about 15 minutes. Well, our potatoes are ready and we're going to get a nice potato steam facial. Go ahead and strain them off and let them drain for about 4 to 5 minutes. Transfer them into a mixing bowl and then you can mash them either utilizing a hand masher, which is what I'm using, or you can use an automatic hand blender, which is perfectly fine as well. You just want to make sure that you try and remove as much of the clumps as possible. Now in this case, I'm adding in an entire round of Boursin cheese, the garlic and herb kind. It's going to make it absolutely creamy and decadent. You want to start off with your cheese first because it does have moisture in it. You don't want these potatoes to be runny. Then we're going to add our butter, salt, and also then you're going to add in some heated half and half. You don't have to go too wild because you want to make sure that this mashed potato is nice and creamy and rich. Alright, our Brussels have some good color. Let's set them off to the side because we're going to have fun with them later on. Now for our Wagyu steaks, all we're going to do is season them with salt and pepper, put them on a rack on a sheet tray, and we're going to put them into a 250-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Depending on the thickness, it may be shorter, it may be longer, but a 20-minute is on the average. We're doing what's called a reverse sear. We're going to allow them to partially come up to temperature, then we're going to finish them in cast iron. So while you're waiting, why not have a dance party? Now don't be alarmed when you take these out of the oven. They are legitimately ugly as sin, but I promise we're going to make them look 100 times better. All we're going to do is put them into a smoking hot cast iron pan, or if you don't have cast iron, you can use an all-clad or a Calphalon, whatever's clever that you have in your kitchen. You want to use a high heat oil, and we're going to evenly sear these on both sides until we hit the proper internal temperature for resting. It's time to flip these beauties, and we are going to butter baste them along with some garlic. We don't need to utilize herbs because we really want the meat to stand out. All I'm doing is taking about 4 tablespoons of butter and 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Go ahead and baste them away and then set them off to rest once you reach an internal temperature of your liking. I went to 120 because I want mine to carry over about 8 degrees to medium rare. Alright, so you remember those amazing Brussels sprouts that we roasted earlier. Now I'm going to basically bring them up to temperature, but I'm going to do it along with crispy prosciutto ham. All I'm basically starting out with is a little bit of high heat oil, sauteing my julienne prosciutto so that way it starts to become crispy. Once we've got that crispy factor, go ahead and add back in those roasted Brussels sprouts, get them tossed around evenly. Slow motion. Slow motion food's amazing. Love it. All you have to do from this point forward is basically reheat them and reconstitute them with that fat. Season them with salt, pepper. If you want to add some fresh herbs, you can. I would probably stick to like tarragon or maybe some thyme, parsley. Nothing too crazy on the profile because you want those to actually stand out nicely with that prosciutto. Now that our steak has rested for a good solid 5 to 7 minutes, go ahead and slice it against the grain about 1/4 inch thick, so that way it's nice and super palatable. You don't want to cut with the grain because then it would be too tough, even though it is Wagyu. Now in the plating portion, I got a little crazy. I went and I reheated or reconstituted my mashed potatoes with a little bit more of that half and half, and then all I'm doing is basically getting creative with it. Place your steak down in the middle, however you like it personally, so that way you can see that nice bright red or whatever temperature you're cooking it to. Very simple with everything else on this plate. Now towards your sauces and whatnot, I actually made something ahead of time, which is a port wine reduction. Basically taking a cup of port wine, a little bit of brown sugar, reducing it down by 1/4 so it almost creates a syrup. I've also reserved off to the side that garlic butter that I use to filet or to baste it with. So that way it's a nice dipping sauce. then topped it off with some truffle caviar, and wow. All I gotta say is if you don't want to eat this just by looking at it, there's a serious problem.